It's time for today's face-off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quanell X and Big Angry Adams, ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Robert Redfield is here. You remember him very well, of course. He led us during the CDC. Where COVID came from matters, okay? And it's been a point of concern. Congress was looking at it. They released their report. It's 550-something pages. There's all kinds of stuff in there. Gripes about my brother for like 50 pages. But on the question specifically, Doctor, about where it came from, they say it came from a lab leak, not a wet market. But they don't overwhelm us with proof that they know that. They're more interested in the fact that they think Fauci didn't want that to be the case. What do you think of the report, and why does it matter?
Well, I think Congressman Weintraub and his committee did a good job, and I do think that was one of the first conclusions, that the bulk of the evidence that they have is that it originated from the lab and not natural spillover. And I will say, Chris, we don't have a lot of time. There really is a lot of evidence to support that conclusion.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
Well, Quanell, the House Oversight and Accountability Committee has issued a 520-page report on the COVID-19 pandemic. And one of the key findings was something that intelligent people have known for a long time, right? The non-gullible, the non-lemmings, that a laboratory in Wuhan that had been cited and is known to have lax standards of security measures to maintain safety while playing with viruses, manipulating viruses to make them more deadly. It turns out that, in fact, American money was funneled to that laboratory. You know, people forget Obama actually forbade the gain of function research during his second term, shut it all down. Said you cannot do that in these United States. So what it turns out is people, and we don't know how great the conspiracy was, moved that research to places like the Ukraine and to this Wuhan laboratory. And what the report asserts is that people in the laboratory got sick and there were no security protocols, took it out there, and then all of this wet market contrivance was just a conspiracy by the Chinese government that was then adopted by the world, right? The American government. If you'll recall, back at the beginnings of the pandemic, when the Taiwanese CDC said, hey, this is airborne, but the WHO, the World Health Organization, said, no, we're going to believe China on this, and China's saying it's not. We all know now. It's also, we'll remember the laptop scandal. And the reason we're talking about this is just how much do we get lied to with bald-faced, absurd lies, and how many lives were destroyed by these lies.
You left something out.
It's disgusting.
You left something out.
No accountability.
It was Donald Trump who came before the American people in the very beginning and called this the Wuhan virus. It was Donald Trump
Well,
that
it's also his government that pushed the wet market nonsense.
No, wait a minute. It was Donald Trump who told the American people this virus came out of a laboratory in China, and everybody in the political landscape in America condemned him and called him crazy. And Dr. Fauci was leading that charge when they had evidence to back up what they already knew. Here's my question. So where are the lawsuits now being filed against the country of China? Remember, America helped American citizens file lawsuits against the Libyan government because of the Lockerbie bombing, where all those American citizens were victims of a terrorist attack that was financed by Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, allegedly. They had to pay. So where are the global lawsuits now being filed against the laboratory and the country of China for infecting and causing mass death all over the world? Where's the lawsuits now?
Well, it's not just the infections and the mass death. How many small businesses were destroyed? How many families were destroyed financially? the global markets, and really, if you look at it, and I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, the super wealthy got really, really rich off of COVID because so many middle-class Americans were forced to liquidate their 401ks, forced to liquidate their stock holdings to survive, and then the post-monetary just swooped in and bought it all at a huge discount, and that's why Biden talks about how great his economy was because the stock market's doing so well. It's really just for the very, very rich, right? And the poor got poor, the middle got poor, and the super wealthy, the post-monetary, well, they just
so
got
why
fat on the
no
cap.
law firms filing suit in America against the government of China?
Because when you look from a law firm perspective, a lawyer perspective, you have to look at it like an economist. And what are the chances that you're going to be able to enforce the judgment? I think it would make far more sense if it does turn out, and it does appear that way, that there were American entities that were providing funding for the gain-of-function research, that people target and sue those entities for their
even
involvement.
if you did that, you'd have to name the government of China as a
yeah,
co-defendant
absolutely.
in that lawsuit.
Absolutely. But your whole thing as a lawyer is you're trying to go after someone that can actually pay the judgment.
Now the government, the government of America can make China pay those judgments by placing sanctions on China if a court rules in the American citizens' favor in the lawsuit against China because of the COVID-19 virus.
If you'll recall, that there was all this crying where Pelosi and Schumer were going to the Chinatown communities in San Francisco and New York and putting their arms around people. And of course, it was never Chinese Americans' fault, right? They're not to blame, right? It was the Chinese government, the evil Maoist regime, the Xi's regime, the despotic, oppressive, big evil of the world right now that was locking its own citizens in their apartments, leaving them to die, right? And then lying to the world. We saw, it was northern Italy that got hit because Wuhan had a big textile industry that was tied to Milan. You have an elderly population in northern Italy. They were actually decimated. Why? Because China wasn't telling the truth, because China was lying about this.
But there should be a class action lawsuit on behalf of the American people filed against the government of China. And if a jury awards a judgment, then the American people should put pressure on the United States government to enforce that judgment with sanctions.
Never gonna. It's just like.
And in fact, I agree.
It's just
name
like
those
Saudi
American
Arabians,
entities and politicians who push that agenda, because those same lawsuits are going to be followed by that vaccine one day.
Think about 9/11, right? 9/11 was a bunch of Saudi Arabians behind it, but yet we went and blew up Iraq and Afghanistan.
Exactly.
Okay, we got to get tired of being lied to, and the problem is that the media coalesces with the government and says, "Oh, conspiracy, conspiracy." People were deplatformed for saying it was a lab leak.
People
when it was
were fired
obviously
off their
a lab
jobs, terminated.
It's absolutely disgusting.
And the very doctors giving the vaccine wouldn't take it themselves.
At the very least, we should hold Fauci to account, especially with the money he made off this pandemic.
It is turning an upsetting moment at the Bills 49ers game into something good.
Last night, 8-year-old 49ers fan Mia DiCamilla, who is a cancer survivor, was shoved by a member of the mafia, falling from her seat. Our Dylan Morello spoke with Mia and her family about what they want fans to learn from that experience. Dylan.
Dave and Kelsey, the family tells us that luckily Mia was not physically hurt during the altercation, but was emotionally shaking. That caused them to leave her first ever NFL game early.
8-year-old Mia DiCamilla currently lives in Rochester, New York. She, however, became a big 49ers fan because of her father.
Me and my dad in the hospital will watch football together. And then when I come home sometimes for breaks, like in the hospital when I had cancer, I will sit down and, just relax and watch football all day. That's what I like. And that's how I made my team.
Mia has battled and beaten liver cancer twice after relapsing in May of last year. She's been featured on Buffalo's Hope Rises and News 4's Shine Gold event, helping raise money for other young cancer warriors. On Sunday, she went to her first NFL game at Highmark Stadium, braving the cold with a smile, holding proudly an I Beat Cancer sign.
In the car, when we were driving there, I was saying like, oh, are we there? Yeah, I was too excited. Like I was full of energy.
The fun night was cut short after the family tells us a drunk Bills fan pushed Mia down the stairs in unshoveled section 312.
He said, I'm going to push through all these Niner fans. So he actually bumped my son and me a little bit, and then got past me and pushed her, almost slid off the stairs and hit her like side on the chairs.
The family was...
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, this was a very interesting news segment about a situation involving a young cancer survivor, a young lady. And I want to thank God for those who prayed for this young lady to beat cancer, not once but twice. And I thank God for those prayers, because the prayers of the righteous can avail it much. But I do find this story to be very interesting, because they're accusing this woman who allegedly pushed this young girl and pushed other people down and shoved them around and pushed her down at this game. But we have not heard the other woman's story. I was hoping and praying that there was some type of video that showed the woman committing this act. But if the woman did this because she was drunk and she was wrong, I would hope and pray that she is willing to come forward, identify herself, and apologize because she was intoxicated. But I don't want to just jump on the bandwagon totally condemning her when I've seen no evidence up until this point that validates what she's allegedly that she actually did. But if she did this, she should apologize and make amends to this young woman, because this is a great young girl who survived such a tremendous tragic moment in life, coming down with cancer, not once but twice, and beating it. That woman should say, I apologize, hug that young woman, and say, forgive me,
but
if she did this.
The story is so much worse because it wasn't a woman, it was a man, right? And it was a man that shoved
But they were saying, but they were talking like it was a woman who did this.
No, it was a man, and shoved his way through other people, including a father and a son, and then purposefully pushed a little 8-year-old girl, right? Maybe he didn't know that she had just beat cancer for the second time. Maybe he didn't know it was her first football game and she was there with the snow. And it was a historic football game, tons of snow. They almost canceled it.
Yeah, I saw the game.
Josh Allen actually broke the record because he was the first quarterback to run for a touchdown, pass for a touchdown, and receive a touchdown. Mm-hmm. It's a great game, but marred by this craziness that has seemed to have really gotten worse in the last 10 years in America. Is how angry people get at opposing fans. And I've never got it. I've always thought it was stupid. First of all, it's an opportunity to meet people you don't know and talk about their team. I've never got that animosity. I've had season tickets to Texans, Rockets, and the Astros over the years.
But go to a Raiders game.
No, I get it.
Go to a Philadelphia Eagles football game.
Any Philly sport. I almost got in a fight in Philadelphia and waiting to buy a sandwich because I had an Astros hat on. And everybody was telling me, a guy came and started stuff with me, and he said, oh, just leave it alone. I was like, the hell with that. You want to go? Let's go. But I wasn't doing anything. I was just standing in line to buy a sandwich wearing an Astros hat. And I don't get it.
But what's the common denominator in those games?
Ignorant people, stupid people.
Alcohol.
And no.
The one thing that they never want to talk about at these games, when these incidents take place, that these people be drunk and inebriated and intoxicated.
I think it goes far
and at the
beyond
root
that.
of it is the stadium getting rich off of selling their fans tons of alcohol.
People don't realize.
And we don't want to talk about that part.
Football stadiums sell more alcohol than any other. Sports venues are really just drug dealers, right?
And nobody want to talk about that.
They're really just pushing alcohol. It's not about the sports. It's not about it's really, if you look at the numbers, it's an incredible amount. But I don't think you can blame the alcohol, because I also think there is a culture now in America, and some cities are far worse than others. Some cities are great, like Colorado, Denver, very nice, very welcoming to opposing fans. Boston, not so much. New York, not so much. Philadelphia, not so much. Like you said, Oakland, not so much. But anyone that's going to shove a little girl, and they probably didn't know she'd be.
But I would love to hear
what is
that
wrong with
man's
people.
Side of the story, because now this gentleman, the same standard goes for him. The same request goes for him. You should reach out to this family, identify yourself, and apologize directly to her parents, and apologize directly to that child. I will have some sympathy and empathy toward this man because the man was drunk at a stadium that helped get him
You're
drunk.
assuming
And
he
I'm,
was drunk.
And I'm hoping. Well, they said he was drunk. They said he was drunk, Charles.
Are saying
in the story, they said he was
that
drunk.
He was bragging about how he was going to shove his way through some fans.
And they said he was drunk, Charles.
I don't have any empathy for this scumbag. This is a scumbag.
But the stadium.
And if there was a video of him
the stadium
doing it,
could do something
and it
more.
cost him his damn job.
But they
want to
make the money.
Then maybe he would apologize. But I doubt this person's going to apologize. They probably think it's hilarious because they were probably raised poorly by crappy parents in a crappy town
Charles,
that suggested that it was
I've seen very
okay.
good people become completely the opposite when they're intoxicated.
Okay.
I've seen very good people be absolutely
disagree.
wonderful human beings.
I disagree.
But when they become intoxicated, they become a complete 360.
I disagree.
Charles, I'm hoping and I'm
I
praying
think alcohol
that this gentleman
allows people the
will
confidence.
do a 180 and find this young woman and apologize to this young girl and her family. Clean that up.
Please don't hold your breath because I don't want you to die.
Well, I'm hoping
right?
he will do it though, Charles.
And we can hope in one hand and defecate in the other and see what fills up faster. The truth is that for most people, it's not that alcohol makes them a different person. It's that alcohol gives them the confidence to be the person that they're often too afraid to be. It exposes their true character.
But in most cases,
I don't
think alcohol exposes your true character. I think
disagree.
alcohol brings out of you the worst of your character.
See, I disagree.
And I think alcohol confuses the mind to become the worst and not the best.
So I don't drink anymore.
I don't drink at all.
But when I was drinking, I was always a real nice guy.
Says who?
Says everyone. You talk to anyone that's been around me drinking.
Says who?
I was an incredibly nice guy when I was drinking. I'm not a nice guy when I'm not drinking.
Oh my God.
I'm concerned, I'm focused, I'm suspicious, I'm a cynic. But when I get a few drinks in me,
I'm just hoping that this
everything's
guy
all
would do
right.
the right thing and
I don't
respect
think
out
this
to
guy's
young
doing
woman
the right thing.
and apologize
I
to
hope
this
somebody
child.
punches the next
Because he
time.
may be a father
the
himself.
next
He should
time this
apologize.
guy shoves an 8-year-old girl, I hope there's another man there.
You don't find that
punch
strange?
him in the
And you don't
damn
find that
mouth.
strange? You push my 8-year-old?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I mean that.
You push my child?
You better get
exactly.
you better get the handcuffs out.
That's why it sounds
'cause
strange to me.
I'm going to jail.
That's why I want to hear his side.
In today's Face-Off, up.
TikTok influencer with hundreds of thousands of followers is in trouble with the law again. Police say she was caught on surveillance video in Target scanning fake barcodes for certain items. The same exact crime that she was just arrested for a couple of weeks ago. NBC2's Kennedy Mason is live at the Target on Pine Island Road.
As you scroll through Marlena Velez's TikTok, you'll find videos of her showing off her home and her life. But what you may not find in this screen is where she gets her items and how. Cape Coral police say she stole 16 items from this Cape Coral Target this weekend using fake barcodes. 22-year-old Marlena Velez is an influence to more than 400,000 people. But is she a good influence to her kids?
Her social media is great. Like you see, it's very aesthetically pleasing. It looks like she takes good care of her kids, but it's all going to be things that she doesn't need.
Velez takes her kids to the Target on Pine Island Road, but when she goes to the self-checkout with clothes and Christmas decorations, Cape Coral police say she's influencing illegal activity. 16 items worth $225 stolen. You can see her scan a false barcode instead of the real one. Some of the clothes just go right into the bag.
I wouldn't brag about it, that's for sure. You know, you gotta wonder about the parents at that point.
Her neighbor, Joe.
Well, Quadell, this establishes two things I truly believe. One, social media provides platforms for some of the worst people in America to get a large audience. But two, until we start prosecuting theft again, until we start empowering stores to the employees of stores to physically stop criminals, right? Because when I was in Las Vegas last week, the guy just walked in, did his shopping, grabbed a bunch of stuff, just walked right out. Security guard with a gun, I asked him, I said, well, why don't you do anything to stop it? He was brazen about it. He said, I'm not allowed to, right? Because who's paying the cost? Us. Rule-following, law-abiding Americans. It ain't the corporations. They're passing that cost on to us. And scumbags like Miss Marlena Velez are out there shining on social media. She had already gotten busted once, and she kept doing it. Why? Because thieves have no concern about consequence in America anymore. When they're charged, which is rarely, they just get a little, get on down the road, poor thing. We got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Oh, they're just stealing for food. They're just trying to eat Jean Valjean nonsense.
It's obvious that Miss Marlene has been misguided. It's obvious that no one of her inner circle has been able to educate her and enlighten her on just how valuable she really is. She has 500,000 followers. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever why she can't market that and make a large sum of money, in fact, tons of money, if she was able to market herself and her influence correctly. This is a woman that's in possession of a gold mine and don't even know it. This is like taking somebody and putting a baby behind a Ferrari and have no idea how to drive it. Until somebody goes to her, enlighten her, and educate her, she does not need to do this. She has a platform she can financially benefit from. This ignorance will probably continue. And Marlene, look, baby, I saw your video, baby, in your picture. You fine. Sweetheart, you don't need to do that.
Why does how she look have anything different
listen to
her being a scumbag thief?
You just need some sauce for the floss, baby. You need to be educated and talk correctly and enlightened.
She brought her kids with her to shop
man you got that's got you in the dark like that, Marlene, you need to find a man to help give you some light.
It ain't the man's fault.
And turn the switch on,
you know what?
baby.
She needs the switch turned off in her jail cell and been put to bed for a while.
You look so good, you can make
Come
bond,
on,
baby.
Quanell.
I mean, but the bottom line is she needs some guidance. She needs a life coach.
That's it for the Face Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.